Greetings, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. I am excited to step into the miraculous with all of you, with our great guest who's going to be coming up in a minute. And we're going to be talking about crystal skulls and human design and what it is really like to live with an advanced crystal skull consciousness. So I think we're going to have a really good time understanding how crystal skulls function and how they can help us. So, meanwhile, guys, I'm Joan of Angels. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you've been here before, I'm just happy to see you. I step into the miraculous often, and I'm just so happy to have you stepping in there with us because now more than ever, we really need miracles across the planet. We really need to be able to step into our power, know who we are, remember who we are, and then really align with our destiny. And I am getting you ready. I'll be announcing a 4-week live class with me, Joan of Angels, on what is my life purpose, my soul filled purpose. And it's going to be 4 weeks hands on, but I don't have the link for it today, but I'll post it for you next time. So, meanwhile, guys, take a look at the website, joanofangels.com, and check out that free ebook that I have up there on your soul filled purpose because that's what we've really been talking about all month, how to thrive by knowing who you are. So now, on that note, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our guest. And our guest lives with a crystal skull named Einstein, along with a lot of other crystal skulls, but Einstein's pretty big and a very large consciousness. She's going to tell us all about it. So, Carolyn Ford is the guardian of Epstein, the ancient crystal skull of consciousness, the largest ancient crystal skull known at this time, and one of the rarest artifacts on the planet today. In geological time, Einstein is believed to have created approximately he was created 70,000 years ago. Also trained in human design by its founder, Uru Hu, Carolyn's abilities and knowledge of human design have enabled her to integrate many bodies of knowledge, both ancient and knowledge, with her own mystic and cosmic teachings from Einstein. So I think that's quite fascinating. She's able to bring both worlds together for true healing. So let's bring her on. Well, we brought Einstein on. We don't really need Carolyn as long as we have Einstein. No,
Are you
but we're
ready for
kidding. We
it?
do not mean it. We are ready, Carolyn. I am so happy to see you.
I didn't really know how that works, so I enter the studio and I'm right in the middle of your podcast. I'm sorry.
Well, no, you actually got in the exact minute we were going to begin, and we were holding our breath to feel if you were coming in. But your
Oh,
timing worked.
oh,
So here we
good.
are in galactic outer space. We're dealing with extreme consciousness. Already, Carolyn told me she doesn't really live within our time constraint. And being with her put me into another time myself. So, welcome, Carolyn and
Thank
Einstein.
you. Thank you. We've been looking forward to this time with you, Joan.
I have been too. I just love your energy, sweetie, and it's just
Thank
so fun
you.
to play with you. So, yeah, so take a deep breath,
I just took up
everyone.
my
Let's just
volume.
take a
Yeah.
deep breath. Good. And settle in. And today we're going to really dive into what is it like living with a crystal skull. So you've had this crystal skull for many years. I know I'm going to want to find out how you found the crystal, how the skull found you, right? Yeah. So we can
Okay.
start there or what it's like to live with a crystal skull.
You really want to know what it's like to live with a
I do.
crystal
I do.
skull?
I do. Okay.
I
And I know
laugh
everyone
so
else is going to want to know.
when I do events, people will always say, I would love to have an ancient crystal skull. And I'm like, no, you don't want one. it's quite entertaining. You get woken up in the middle of the night. I often get messages for my friends. I wake
Uh-huh.
up and I'm told, you're going to need more calcium, or I mean, that's a simple one I'm giving you, or don't go to that meeting today, or we we get really interesting things. Sometimes you get messages from the redwood trees, come and visit. You disappeared. Oh, there you are. Good.
There I am.
Anyway, I get amazing I live in another world, really. It's really quite amazing. When I first had Einstein and I was guided to move to Sedona, Arizona. I started getting formulas in my dream time that were to help me heal from my life. I was in Los Angeles for a few years before coming to Sedona, designing in the entertainment industry. And so it was to help me heal from my earlier years. And I wake up and write down formulas every day. It's really quite something. And of course, I'm available for it. I was ready for it. And when I moved to Sedona, Einstein said, "Keep me quiet, keep me hidden for 20 years." 20 years. Can you imagine? So that's what I did. When I started sharing Einstein, there was a 10-10-10 Crystal Skull event in New York City. And that was the first time we went public. It was like our coming out party for a crystal skull. And the people in Sedona didn't, nobody knew. I never told anybody because I was in training.
Oh my goodness. So
Yeah.
you had 20 years with him. And how long did you have him before that? Like that was right when you got him, then he
I
told
had
you
him
all that?
about a year before that. And then
And
I was given, yeah.
you were given those instructions. How very
Yeah.
interesting. So I want
Yeah.
to ask you a question. When you're given instructions from Einstein, how do
Mhm.
you receive them?
You mean, do I have tantrums? No. No,
No, I
I know
don't.
that's not,
Okay.
I know that's not your question.
Okay, we know where today is going.
um, no, I know what you're looking for. I just couldn't help myself.
No, it's
But
okay.
I
You're
do,
with me and
Einstein
we
and
laugh.
me and Einstein, we argue, we argue. He always wins, but we argue for sure. Um, how do I receive messages?
Yeah, how?
In the beginning, well, it's on every level, I have to tell you. Mostly it's just with, in my consciousness. Um, we do sessions a lot, Zoom, right? The way we are sitting here with you today. And it's just like we are one. People go, well, what's Einstein saying? I said, he just said it. It's we're really one. So a lot of times in the beginning, I'll give you my backstory. In the beginning, I got a lot in the dream time. And in the dream time, I was so excited. I got all these really complex formulas, and they were powerful. I started selling them all over the world. It was really something else. And
The
uh,
formulas? Wait, you said
yeah, the formulas in the dream time, they were like flower essence formulas. So I planted vast gardens, and then we made formulas from flower essence, but not limited to, they were alchemy. So we would do eclipses. I would be guided at 2:10 a.m., stand out in your garden with the kachina from the young Hopi girl, and then bring the rose and the poppy together, and then this would be a new leadership formula. Things like that. It was like I've got journals on it. It was hardly believable. And
so he
so,
was giving you everything, all these formulas. They were for essential oils, things for healing,
yeah, not essential oils, vibrational frequencies. So under the tongue, much like a homeopathic, but flower essence.
like Bach
So
flower remedies.
yeah, exactly. That would be the closest thing you could say. But they were alchemy. They were.
Wow.
There's one formula that is really powerful and it was called Resurrection Soul Receival. And this is one for bringing back your soul pieces that had fragmented off throughout your life and traumas. Today, a lot of people have a shaman who will do soul retrieval for you. But I was given this formula, and I had a whole complex story about it. And I'm only told after I have my own personal experience. So I'm laying on, we have a 8-9 foot stone healing table out in our yard that we were guided to place there. And I was laying on the table when I would take the formula, and all of a sudden, pieces of my soul that had been stolen primarily by a shaman who I never
Oh,
invited in. He just came of his own free will and stole like a big chunk of my life force, a big ball of light. like, can you see my hand? Like this,
Yep.
just came back, and he had already transitioned. So he had to come through the veils and hand it back to me.
And
And
you saw
then,
all this. Oh my
oh,
goodness.
absolute experience. Yes. And behind him were a few other, I'll call them pretenders, because, they couldn't do anything like the shaman did, but, they were giving me balls of light back and crying. The shaman didn't shed a tear. He didn't even apologize. He just looked at me and smiled like, good job. You got it back. and really, I don't think it was good what he did, but I'm okay for it, and I learned a lot, and I helped a lot of people with that formula get their pieces back. And you don't have to go to a shaman and have them do soul retrieval. You took the formula with clear intent and received. So I was able to help a lot. So I wear him like a badge, like, oh yeah, I got it back from this man. Even through the veils, we got it back. So Einstein guided me. Every formula was for my healing first, and then it was made available to the world.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So, wow,
I
everything
know.
is even deeper than when we spoke yesterday, which is so exciting. Honestly, Carolyn, I'm coming to visit you at some
Okay.
point.
I figured
Yeah.
that we're going to see each other long before the conscious life, whatever.
Oh,
What
the
is it
conscious life, and I'm going to see you online in
Expo?
September, guys. Carolyn has graciously agreed to appear on our Crystal Skulls conference, which is September 3rd, 2022, online. And you've already met a couple of the Crystal Skull Keepers, but this is really fascinating. You're going to get to meet her again then. So I'll get to meet her too. All right. So Carolyn, I want to know.
Mhm.
Okay, so you and Einstein are one. So, like, here's what I'm trying to ask. When I
Mhm.
kind of hear it on my side here,
I
but I'm
understand.
hearing that you hear in a different way.
Um, it's just so automatic. I've never even had to answer that question, so I'm just kind of hesitating, because it's just so. Einstein has slept at my head for 30 years, so
Oh, he sleeps at you. Okay, I was going to ask if he was so intense that you had to put him in the other room when you slept, but he sleeps at your head, like he's in the bed or he's sleeping on his own table.
we'll just leave it at that.
I feel like I'm asking. This is going to be X-rated Einstein Crystal Skull show. All
No,
right, now
he
we're
he
off to
has
a
his
good
own he has
start.
his own platform. He's not actually in, you
But
know.
he's next to you, and
Yes.
so he's in your auric field, and so he's
Yeah.
probably influencing your dreams. And I,
Right.
I, I kind of understand you've blended together. Is really what I'm hearing. He's telling me
Right.
that we're sort of merged.
Exactly. And we always have been merged long before this life. That's the story. I was there in the beginning. That's how I understand it. That's how it's explained to me. And these things, so when it's explained to me, it's like a voice in my head, and I just know it's Einstein. So I get voices in my head a lot.
Do you have
Nobody's
other
medicated for me.
voices?
Yeah. What?
Don't even go that way because that was their way of disconnecting us from our
I
source.
remember. Yes, I
You know,
know.
and many people I know, unfortunately, had a terrible experience because they could hear voices.
Right.
But do you hear other people besides Einstein, or is he really your channel?
Oh no, I have guides.
Oh, you have other guides too. Oh my God, I'd like to be in Carolyn's head. Oh God, this is gonna be.
Well, you can tell. Before I got Einstein, I can tell you a quick story how the guides work. I don't know if this is the right story, but it's just coming to my mind. So before Einstein, I didn't have Einstein speaking. I didn't even know what a crystal skull was, and it was about a year before I got Einstein. I am living in Los Angeles. I'm working day and night. I'm designing clothes for entertainers. So it's always a show, a deadline, work all the time. But I wanted to have my life too. So I was going to a club about 11 p.m. And I work up to that moment. Can't, like I'm trying to fit everything in one day, and or in so much time. And so I couldn't wait to get to the club. I couldn't wait to get to the club. I parked. There it is across the street. I start to cross the street, And I'm looking at the entrance, and I can't wait to get there for the last set of this band that was one of my favorite bands. And this voice came in and said, "Go back." And I went, "No, I spent all night waiting to get to the club right now." It didn't repeat itself. I just knew. I just stood in the middle of the street with that tantrum kind of feeling, and I went back to the edge of the sidewalk there. And I stood there, folded my arms kind of with an attitude, and went, "So what's this about? What's this about?" And um, in that moment, a pipe bomb went off at the front of the club where I would have been walking.
Oh.
Yes,
Oh.
at the entrance.
Oh.
So that is that's like your guardian angel. That's like your guide. So that was before Einstein, and I can't tell you how many times in my life I had things like that. Just getting to the place of receiving Einstein, they had to keep me safe.
They did,
So
didn't they?
yeah, this I've always called it the voice. I didn't really think of it as a guardian angel throughout my life. It's the same voice that's always been there. I just called it the voice. But it saved me numerous times in in situations where I wouldn't have had a chance. And somehow it just guided me to, you know, this is what you do. You animate yourself, you move your hands, and then you distract them, and then you jump in your car and get out of here as quick as you can. Things like that.
So
It was
very specific. Very
yeah.
specific. So do you think it was sort of that it was fate, like not just fated, but part of your destiny then to be trained as what do you actually call yourself, Carolyn?
My friends are. I'm a woman with a skull. I don't. I don't adhere to labels so well. I do everything really, and eh, I've tried to sum myself up. I
I
really
kind of like
feel,
women with the skull.
yeah.
It's
That's
like a
like
novel.
I have a friend. I always say I'm just a girl with a skull, girl, woman. And of course, I get scolded for, no, you're a lot more than that. But maybe I'm a little bit of a mystique. I have a lot of background. And here's the story, Joan. I don't really put this out. I'm not afraid to put it out in the world. Oh, sorry. I don't know what that was. I don't put it out in the world so much just because I I don't know if it's even believable to people, so then I just don't bother. But I did have an experience at 4 years old where I literally walked in. And a lot of people may not know what walking in means, but um, let's just say maybe more aspects of my soul showed up at that time because at 4 years old, I had eye operations. And because my eyes were cross-eyed, and so they cut muscles and put me in hospitals and
Mhm.
blindfolded me, and so it was very traumatic to the child that I was. And um, but it was destined, it was planned that I would, more aspects of myself would come in at that time. So since 4 years old, um, and it's really funny, I recorded my mother talking about the incident because she remembered it too, and we discovered the same story at when I was 24. And she said, I looked at you. I was laying in the grass out in front of the house. I grew up in Seattle, and I had all of a sudden I'm looking at my hands and going, what are these? Is this like, what are these fingers? And then there was a car on the side of the road there. What's that? And trees, what is that? Because I remembered being one with everything.
It just
And then,
happened.
yeah, at 4 years old, I'm laying in the grass and I'm having this moment. So then I don't know what trees and cars are. I just remember being part of everything, and all I want to do is get back to that as fast as I can because this doesn't feel right at all. And this voice says, "It's okay. You're just here for some experience. You're here to have fun, and it's take it lightly." Those weren't the exact words, but at 4 years old, my translation was "take it lightly, be happy," and from that moment on. I always knew I could do what I needed to do. Like if I entered a coloring contest in second grade, I knew I could win it. If I was in a running race, I knew I could win it. I just had this extra, I don't know, thing. I don't want to label it, but I had extra uh, gifts, and I was aware of that.
As a walk-in, you were aware. A lot of walk-ins are not aware, so I find it really very fascinating. I'm also a walk-in, but still walking in. I had a lot of soul fracturing, and I've had to
uh,
do a lot of soul retrieval to find all those pieces of
oh,
my walk-ins.
interesting.
Isn't that
Interesting.
interesting? Yeah, it is interesting.
Well, I never discussed it with anybody until 24. I was telling my mom about this experience. I thought, well, maybe it's time to have this conversation. And then she chimed in and said that her story, she goes, well, I had an experience when you were 4 years old, and I saw you out on the grass looking at your hands and looking around like you didn't belong here. And she said, and I immediately said, what happened to my little girl? She saw I was different. And the voice told her, this is a gift, treat her differently. Those are the two main things that she got out of it. And to
Wow.
my mother's credit, she always treated me different. She just was an angel. She really was so special, and she let me be. I mean, I went through some pretty wild times in my late teens, and my mother allowed me to evolve. And like she was like an angel in her own right, like
Is she
you.
still alive, Carolyn?
No, we just lost her a couple years ago, and it's been quite that was quite a loss. I never thought I would live without my mother. I didn't want to be an orphan,
Oh
but
God, I know. I didn't
but
think my
she's
mother would ever leave either. She did.
I know. They have to eventually. By the time she left, she had, parts of her awareness weren't there so much. So it was easier to let her go because she wasn't really as, I mean, it still wasn't good to let her go, but, she wasn't the same person as she evolved. So,
It's kind of fascinating, I
mm,
think, that you had all these first of all, you had a walk-in experience and your mother experienced it, okay? Not
right,
not everyone gets to have an experience like that someone else is witness to, and then
right.
you had an opportunity to share that. So that is huge in a lot of ways, and it also confirms you came down here for some really special reasons then.
Yeah, right.
And
It's destiny and it's Einstein, period.
so you met Einstein 21 years ago, is that it? 22 years ago?
32 years ago.
32 years ago.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Uh,
You want
you're
to know
right.
how Einstein came,
Yes, I
right?
do.
Yes.
I do.
It's
Tease
a good
us.
time to it's a good time to tell that story.
Okay.
Uh, I'm just thinking where to begin. There's just so much. I will just say this, that since 4 years old, I was always on a mystical path. When I was young, I didn't know how to seek it out. But even in the library as a child in grade school, I was looking for the esoteric books. So my life was always a little mystical, and I just was hungry to drink it all up to understand myself. And I never had the conscious thought that I walked in. I didn't know what that was until my mother and I shared that story at 24. And then her husband, my stepfather, reached behind him, grabbed a book by Ruth Montgomery called Walk Ins, and handed it to me.
Oh my
And
God.
so just so you know, that's how I didn't know I knew I had that incident. I didn't know how to identify it, so I didn't talk about it. And at 24, I read the book and I went, oh, okay, I get it now. So,
Wow.
it's an evolution, and it's really something. So how did I meet Einstein?
Wow.
So I've had
The
this
odds that
path.
the book was there is amazing also,
He
just to
reached
note that.
right
But
behind
yeah,
him. He had a swivel
it
chair. I
was waiting
remember the
for you.
moment.
It was
Yeah.
waiting for you. I can feel it. Okay, so
Yeah.
how did Einstein come to you now?
Um, so I had an opportunity to go to Peru, and when I was going to Peru, this voice came in and said, "You will be initiated there." And I went, "Oh, okay, what does that mean? We don't know, and I went to Peru. And I'm going to just make it a quick story. It's longer and more involved, but I got locked in the ruins overnight. I had my initiation. I have missing time. I was there all night long, which could be a book in its own right. And um, finally, my group got invited in about 6 a.m. to do some special ceremony, and I ran into them. So I merged back with them. They were the instructor, the woman guiding us was very upset because she thought something really bad had happened to me. But I got locked in. We all went for the exit, and when I got there, I saw everyone walking. When I got there, they were all gone. It's like I just shifted into another dimension. And when I got locked in by myself, I was shifted in another dimension too. So therefore, I'm now getting my initiation. I
What
still
did
don't
you
understand.
do?
It's a book.
What did you do? All right,
Well,
it's
like
a
I
book.
said, there's
She got
missing
her
time. I
initiation. Oh
went
my
to other
God.
levels. A
Wow.
lot of it, I don't know. I don't understand yet. I don't know how to talk about it. But I know that was my territory there. I was like at home. I was. It
Wow.
wasn't. It wasn't the first time I had been there.
Okay, that's good to
I
know.
don't know how else to say more right now. I think it would
That's
just
good.
get too long, but just know a lot happened and a lot that took me years to unravel. So when I come back from Peru, one of the shaman we worked with, his name was Don Eduardo, and it turned out years later he was a skull keeper. He has a skull there in Peru, and a number of people knew about it. It's written about in some books that I have. And so I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about crystal skulls at the time. But when I came home, I took a workshop with a medicine man, Harley Swifter, and he, at the end of the workshop, he brought out a small crystal skull. Like I've got so many sitting here. Let's say like this size. You can see, not real big,
Hmm.
right? It's like
Especially
there's
next to
Einstein. This is
Einstein.
33 pounds, Einstein, and this one's 2 pounds. So they brought out a small skull, and we did a meditation with it, and it started talking to me, and it said, "You're the guardian." And I'm like, now I don't even know about crystal skulls, so guardian means nothing to me. That's like you're the keeper of the keys. Like who cares? I didn't know. I have it written on my notes. So you were the guardian with a question mark. Like, what does this mean? And so I get home and I call up my friend in Seattle, where I am from, and I call up my friend Jack, and I said, "Can you find me a crystal skull? I want to work with him because this one talked to me." So he says, "Sure, Carolyn." He's been in the stone business and has a store for quite some time, and he says, "I'll find you one." So I've asked him that evening for a crystal skull, and by the next morning, I get a phone call. Are you still there, Joan?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I was
I just
just
wondered
giving
your
you
face.
the.
Yeah.
I disappeared, but I wanted everyone to see you and Einstein together.
Oh, you can't see us together?
No, we can. I can. Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay,
I'll
good.
stay right here.
Good. Oh, no, it's okay. I just have never done this format, so I didn't really know what it meant, but it's fine. So my friend says he calls me in the morning. He says, "Carolyn, I've got your skull." And I go, "Really?" He goes, "But there's a problem." I go, "Jack, I don't, I just want a little skull, a specimen, something to experience." He goes, "Well, you have to see this one." I go, "What's the problem?" He goes, "Well, it's bigger than you asked for, Carolyn." And I said, "Well, I don't really want a bigger skull. I just want this little skull to to learn what they're about." He says, "Carolyn, you have to come home right now." So I immediately knew something was up. Jack and his wife were some of my best friends in Seattle, and we did harmonic convergence ceremonies together. We did a lot of ceremonies and things together. So I flew home. On the way home, there is a voice in my head from Einstein that says, "You will need to stop and bring rose spray when you meet me." So he wanted, excuse me, he wanted me to bring rose water to cleanse him. That would be the most, accessible thing at that time. And so I did. I picked up rose water. I walked in to meet this skull that was going to be bigger than I asked for. And I saw Einstein and my eyes went, I just burst out crying because this was always my skull. This is my baby. I went, that's my baby. Now, I don't know they exist. I don't know anything about them, but I knew this was my baby. So that's when you see destiny playing out, that Einstein and I had really always planned on being together. So that was the beginning. Now let me tell you how this skull got to Jack from asking him at 9 p.m. one night to him receiving the skull in the morning. So he went to his store. He had a retail store in Kirkland, Washington called Earthlight, and it's still there, and his daughter Kim runs it now. So it's this magical vortex where Einstein came through. And that morning when he went to open up his I apologize. When he went to open up his store, there was a man standing there with a suitcase. And he invited him in. And hold on, I'm going to cough again. Do I have a cough button here? So he invited him in, and the man says, I have some artifacts that have been given to me. There was a man who owed him money. He was the explorer that actually brought Einstein back from some of his travels. And he said that he was just a businessman, and he just wanted to find somebody, who could take him off his hands so that he could recoup some of the money that was owed to him. So my friend Jack had called me and said, Carolyn, this is your skull. And he knew that it was the moment. So when I walked, so that was how the skull came to Jack that quickly. So of course, we discussed it and made arrangements. And along with Einstein, there were jade masks. There were other amazing pieces. I didn't really know. I wish I would have got them today, but I didn't really know the value. I didn't know what I was really doing. I was just trying to follow the guidance, and I could barely lift. When you put Einstein in a suitcase or any kind of carrier, he's 33 pounds. And when you put him in a carrier, he's about 50 pounds because you have to have the padding and the structure. So that was about all I could handle at the time. So Einstein, that's how we started our journey. I took him back to LA. And then I started trying to figure out what I'm going to do now. The cool part, Joan, is what you might like to know is I immediately called Nick Nocerino.
Oh, yeah, Nick.
He had the book out, Mystery of the Crystal Skulls, I believe. And because I didn't know what I had, but I knew something special was happening in my life, I had called Nick. And do you want to hear the story there? It's really
Yes. But while you're telling the story, I'm going to encourage everyone to keep looking and gazing at Einstein. He's winked at me a few times. Do people tell you Okay, it's not my imagination.
This eye here? This eye or this eye? Or
it was the one on my right, which I think is your left. Yeah, where your fingers are, that side. Yeah.
Well, I have eyes to put in too. We can put the eyes in.
Oh, that's right. Okay, tell us this story and then put the eyes in.
Okay. So I immediately called Nick Nocerino because his name is in the back of this book, Mystery of the Crystal Skulls. So I called and he answered the phone, but he said, well, Nick's not here. But it was kind of him anyway. But he goes, Nick's not here. And I go, oh, well. He goes, what do you want from him? Or something. He was he wasn't rude, but he was kind of short. And I said, well, I hem-hawed around because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a little intimidated myself. I said, well, I want to talk to him about a crystal skull. He goes, really? I go, yeah, I have one. He goes, well, so he asked me to tell him about it, and how do you know, and this and that. And, there was a lot of things I couldn't tell him, except I knew right then and there it was ancient. That was without knowing anything about crystal skulls, I already knew this. I kind of knew the story already in my own way. Anyway, he got really intrigued, but he said, "Well, Nick will be home in a little bit. I'll have him get back to you." I said, "Okay." So we hung up. In about 10 seconds, the phone rings and it's Nick. And he goes, "Hi, that was me." He goes, "My wife doesn't, every Nick was so knowledgeable that everybody called him and picked his brain for hours. So he had to kind of find ways to not be on the phone all the time and overwhelming his life and taking him away from his family. So he said, "That was me, but tell me about the skull." And anyway, so I gave him some stories and told him what I knew. And he got in the car from, Nick lives not far from San Francisco, say it like that. And he was down to my home in the Hollywood Hills the next morning, ringing my doorbell. So it was quite something. We spent the whole day and we recorded it. And he experienced Einstein, and he said he's never experienced a skull like this. And he, at the time, 30 years ago, he's the one who had experienced all the crystal skulls. He was the man. He had the knowledge. And he said this was one of the most amazing ancient crystal skulls he'd ever met. And to get his validation early on was really something. So one of our first photos, there's a photo of Nick with his hands on Einstein. It's a very cherished photo. And the time with Nick and his wife, Chris, came too with him. We had a beautiful day. We ordered pizza and meditated with Einstein and, explored. So
That
that's,
is beautiful story. Beautiful story. I tried to get Nick's daughter to come to the conference and
oh,
bring her skull, but
Michelle.
yeah,
No?
she had to consult the conference. Maybe she didn't know who we were. But we have other great crystal skulls, and we have Einstein. So you told me last night. I'm totally fascinated. By the way you tell your stories is so riveting, Carolyn. Everyone
Really?
is
Thank
loving
you.
on you. Yes, yes, yes. I'm hanging on to your every word here. And Einstein keeps winking at me. So the first thing I felt when I saw him, by the way, is, oh my God, I'm in love.
I kind
That
of
was
felt
my
the same way.
and I do understand that you've told me that you help share his personality or his essence, not his personality, but who he is.
Hmm.
Other crystals, you kind of, I forget the word you use for that, when other crystals sit with him
Oh,
and get his
what
wisdom.
we call that imprinting. So we have an altar, a beautiful altar right here. I'm looking at it. It's not on the camera per se, but every every skull sits with Einstein here. And also we have an underground kiva. It's a place for meditation built out of stone. And the stories for that, Joan, I don't know how many stories you're going to get in today, but I've got to tell you that story one day, is how it was built and by Kevin, and how a man named Kevin, who is beyond a shaman, he's really an amazing human being, was given to me the day I came to Sedona. So I have this joke. I am a little cynical, and Einstein and I are cynical with each other, but Einstein gives me men to help my path.
That's
So
great.
yeah, Kevin is, I just couldn't say enough about Kevin. This is an amulet he made. Uh, there's only 13 rubies on here, and it's, the sides are turquoise and the back has, I'm not giving you a real close look, but I'm just letting you know, like, this man is, he's bringing in old Atlantean, Lemurian, and beyond the stars wisdom, and he's built us an underground kiva. So we do meditation and prayers in there. We send out information from the underground kiva, and we're trying to figure out how to broadcast in there so we could bring people in when we're meditating with Einstein. I've just got a Wi-Fi extender, I guess. I just need help on the technical level. That's not my best suit. So we're working on that. So to be continued stories, but the
Fascinating.
imprinting process happens on the full moon, it happens on new moons, and it happens underground, and it also happens here. And the thing is, for your audience to know, if you're just being introduced to crystal skulls, these are considered ancient computers. So Einstein, this is amazing I want to say bandwidth, that's not the word, but there's amazing wisdom within this skull. In fact, we'll just turn them all around, so you can
Wow,
just
let
look
us
at
see
them.
him. Let us see him.
This is the view I get from bed. Like oh, it goes this way. Yeah. I love this. When you look at Einstein, you see the Fibonacci sequence or the shape, the shape of, I guess, the Fibonacci symbol. I don't think I said that right, but it's a sacred shape that Einstein is. And the shape of the crystal skull, you see how Einstein sits on a stand? That's very intentional. These are activation points that are being touched. This is a coil. This is all copper coil wrapped by my friend Ken Wells. He's really talented. And he's also made us a Tesla coil that Einstein sits on, sitting right over here. Um, so these are activation points. This is an ancient computer. Einstein is an ancient computer. So when you put another crystalline object or some magical stone carved in the shape of a skull, primarily, even dragons work too, then you get, they upload the information, the knowledge to wisdom from the ancient skull, the computer. So then you can access. See, it's the information's there. It's how much can we access? There's secrets to access these skulls. Einstein showed me some. I'm not ready to talk about, but when we do the uploading and imprinting, there is intention and prayer. And, we've been doing it so long now, it's pretty automatic how that all happens. So I'll just show you the whole circle of Einstein, the back of the head. He's not lit up now because it doesn't go so well on camera. I'm wondering if I had well, we won't try to light him up further, but he looks really beautiful with light in him too. And maybe I can sneak out of my chair and show you in a bit. But this pot right here, I just love this shape of Einstein. It's very special. So the imprinting process happens. Einstein asked us to have crystal skulls carved in this shape that were to be modeled after the ancient one. And in doing that they have what we call accelerated imprinting. So there's even more vast imprinting that happens with, again, this one's rutilated, I'm showing you. And, they have cushions. They come with cushions. But see the shape? You can almost see it. There's a cushion under it. I'm not holding the cushion. But this is rutilated. So this is a magical little skull here. And so we have them carved. And these are close to the heart of Einstein. It's like uploading, the information from your Mac computer to another Mac computer. It's quite extraordinary experience.
Wow. Wow. So now we can have a mini Einstein then.
Yeah, that's the biggest, I would say, seller since COVID and the lockdown happened. We weren't traveling, of course, nobody was for a while. Einstein said we're going to focus on getting as many skulls with this energy, this frequency out into the world. And what we're doing is we are enhancing what we consider the crystal skull grid. Now, we've been working on the crystal skull grid, and we have many, many skulls that are connected to that. And many people have their own crystal skulls or get them from us and that are connected. And we see the crystal skull grid as above and so below. There's a grid above and there's a grid within the earth. And to merge those two actually gives you then access to another information stream, like satellite. Like it's like a stream that has a collective consciousness of its own. And Einstein is considered the skull of consciousness. So let's look at the consciousness and get ready to receive. If you've been looking in the eyes, take a deep breath and receive some frequency here of quartz crystal eyes. So I'll just leave you there for a minute. I wanted to get a flashlight, but I didn't really want to move around a lot. I thought I had one. I'm going to get you a flashlight. So just look into his eyes for a minute and receive, because this is how we broadcast. And even though it's like radio, we're being quiet for a moment intentionally. Okay, let's see. How's that? You just get a little bit of light coming through. And you can see Einstein is considered to come here in liquid crystalline form because the liquid is the memory. Even in our own bodies, the liquid is the memory. So you have, anyway, enough light play, but you got kind of an experience. I will give you a side. Isn't that cool?
Give us a side. Give us a
A
side
side
because
view.
it really is potent to see him.
See all the texture. So this is backlit. It's still a little hot for the camera. I wonder, but we're just winging it here. Look at the light come down through. That's amazing. That's if I love to do photography. Actually, I want that picture right now. It's really fun. There's nothing more exciting than photographing crystal, because you just don't ever know what you get. You never know what you're going to get. I'm going to just. Okay, I did my own photography there. So this is really, really interesting. The jaw is pretty clear. So over time, since I got Einstein, he's gotten lighter. He was a little darker. He had a lot of dirt on him. There's still dirt in some of the cracks here, but he had been retrieved out of ruins. And so he was fairly dirty. And a lot of people think that dirt is sort of gives him validation, but we cleaned him up, and he's lighter. He has rainbows now that he didn't have before, up through across the top of his head. He never had any of that. He had been in hiding for a while. It's our understanding that when the Spaniards came in about the late 1500s, that the artifacts and the sacred objects were buried and put away so that they wouldn't be found. So Einstein was retrieved by an explorer in the early, light off, in the early 1900s. Einstein was brought back by the explorer that had him last.
And then he sought you out.
Well, his family sought out. No, the way it went was he was brought back. So this explorer, I have articles that they wrote about him in Canada. He lived in Canada, and he transitioned. So his family owed money to the businessman, and the businessman, they couldn't pay him. So they said, please take some of Papa's artifacts. We don't really relate to them. The family didn't care about the artifacts. They said, take them, and maybe that's better than nothing, right? So he took the artifacts in lieu of payment, and then he went looking for people to buy the artifacts. That's how it went down.
Well, that's how it goes down. But then you get called from where you are to come and pick them up. Like that to me is beyond just a
It
rational story.
when yeah, within less than 24 hours, I'm asking my friend to find one, and they bring it right to him. That's
Right, right. Well,
yeah,
that's how it works, and that's how you knew.
yeah. And
So
that's
you work,
destiny.
it is destiny. So, and his head, I think, is bigger than yours as I'm looking.
Oh yeah.
He,
He has the
yes,
head of maybe a 9-10 foot giant. He comes from the the ancestors that were giants.
is that who you think made him?
um yeah, it's kind of complicated, but he was created by those that were this size. Yes, they were
Okay,
giants. They were giants.
got it, got it. So that was really the size of their head and beyond.
Yes, absolutely. So do you feel the eyes? Do you feel the eyes here?
Well, I love the eyes. It's so interesting because now, of course, they're open, but I'm in love with. Here's what I feel. I already heard him. He told me just to be me, do me, be
Yeah.
really clear about that. Just be yourself. Very important. And and I feel such an affinity for him that I swear I think I'd like him to come and live with me, or one of his clones, maybe.
Well, I think we'll probably be visiting you, but he really did want to tell you about your human design.
Oh,
That you have
tell
this
me.
you have this amazing design, and we wouldn't dominate with human design, but I will tell you, I'm going to take his eyes out now, so you can experience him in and out, and now see the difference once again.
Oh yeah, there's a difference.
And both have a purpose. When I first met a crystal skull with a shaman, they were drumming, and we journeyed in the eyes is where we got information. So for me now, it's dream time and just real time. It's hardly hard to identify because we're not so separate. Um, but we have a human design chart of you, and I thought. I wanted to mention it because a lot of times the private sessions that we do with Einstein when we were on the road, or even Zoom now, always have a human design chart present. And this is very significant because Einstein, the man who had the revelation of something called the human design system, was brought to my garden about 5 years after I came to Sedona, something like that. And I was told then by Einstein that I had to master this information about the blueprint of the human being before I came out in the world and shared him. So I studied and studied and studied, and did human design readings forever, taught, etc. And to a degree, I would never want to call myself a master of it, but I'm well schooled in human design now. And the reason was that then when I came out in the world after my 20 years of indoctrination in the desert here, and the studying and the training and the healing also, that I would really know who I was and how to operate and how to navigate life with an ancient crystal skull, because one you can barely even lift. That's something, to have boundaries, and to know when it's right to do an event and not, and how do you keep the skull safe. All these things are factors. So with the human design knowledge, I've learned who I am and how to make reliable decisions and how to make clear decisions. And I just know who I am. So it's nice. And when we looked at your chart, Joan, it was so fascinating because you are Joan of Angels, and you have your own. I only know a little bit of your story, but you have a story with angels, right? And you paint them. And the interesting thing is your incarnation theme. So everybody has an incarnation theme. I'll start by telling you, we need the roses back up. These are our favorite roses. My incarnation theme, just to make a point here, is I am the cross of consciousness. I have the skull of consciousness. That's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing. So Joan of Angels, you have what's called the cross of Eden. It's all about the angelic realm, remembering where you came from, all your life you were longing like the angels, right? It's always been the angels. It's always about the angels. You are like one of those angels from I think it's Wings of Desire is a movie. It's really cool, where the angels in the library and he's looking at the humans and they're crying and they're laughing and they want to feel emotion and passion and all that. And you're that angel who came here to have experience. You came here to have your experiences, right?
I guess so. It's been a ride.
Well, yeah, you had yeah, no, nothing about your incarnation was meant to be easy. I mean, you're here to like dive in head first and learn the hard way, pretty much in the beginning, right?
Yes,
So yeah, and but that's what you wanted, because that's how you get to feel love and pain and joy and all of that. And you don't get one without the other. As above, so below. Everything is a duality. So here you are. But it's, to me, miraculous that you have the cross of Eden, because you are very angelic. You have that connection. You paint your angels, and I know there's so much more about you I don't know, but these little pieces I do. I mean, your name is Joan of Angels, right? So you are representing the tribe back there with the wing tribe. You're representing, and you, in a way, didn't forget who you are. You have that connection. Is that correct?
I do. I do. I'm
Yeah.
a very since I was a little girl, I always thought I was
Yeah.
Joan of Arc, and it sort of stepped into Joan of Angels
That's an easier path. You might have been Joan of Arc at a young age in the archetype, right? But
in the
um,
archetype, but they assured me that we weren't going to lose our life or be, this
mhm.
lifetime for this kind of work. But so anything
Right.
else you want
That's
to share? This is very interesting.
Well, I
Most of
just want
you,
to finish with you. There's a couple key things. Your leadership, everything about your design is leadership, leadership, leadership. So no matter what, it's not like you try, you just are that. And you have perfected form. So whatever you're doing, whether it's the form of angels or the form of your podcast or the form of sharing the light with humanity, you have perfected form. You are gifted. You will always succeed. You will rise up. You have a degree of ambition built into you. You cannot not be this great person who succeeds. It's really a beautiful design, and passion for days, passion. And so the thing for you is the tone and the sound, and the tone and the sound. And if you don't tone, do you play tones? Because there's things about um, the perfected hearing and tone, and you could do healing tones. And so, uh, and I'll leave it at that.
I can do healing tones. That's very, very
Yeah.
interesting because I have started doing some toning
Yeah.
and I
You're
like
you're
toning.
yeah, you can, at the beginning or end of your podcast, or at some point, you're just going to make some kind of CD where you'll do your tones. You have the gift in you through the angelic realm.
I guess, huh?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. You play with that. But I
I
love
will.
talking about your design, because it's, for you, it's about Eden, it's about angelic, and you have leadership. I mean, and you are very, I mean, look at you. You're a leader. You're here to awaken humanity, and you don't get tired. Some people go, I think I've done enough, I'll rest now. You will never rest. You are going to go, because it's you. You are living out you. So it's a very beautiful part of you.
Oh, that is so beautiful. I tell people I'm the Energizer Bunny. That Duracell bunny or
You
something that
are,
always keeps going no matter what.
yeah.
But I like that. I like that you're doing the human design with Einstein, and
Hmm.
that's how you're bringing your information in. So when people book you for sessions, they don't just get you, they get Einstein.
They get Einstein and they get human design. There's like a little bit of a triage or something, the three of us
Uh-huh.
working together. The wisdom of human design is synthesized within me at this point, after studying it for 25 years. And then Einstein insisted on having the chart there, because we know right away. We sit with you, we see leadership, we know you're Joan of Angels, we see the angelic thing. There's so many things in you, and you have that ability to meet the people, warm, friendly. We all love Joan. You can, and you're perfect to do the podcast because you're, you get in where no one else can. Like I told everybody no, Jimmy. I told everybody no to interviews. I didn't want to do any interviews. I said yes to you. So
That's so
I,
interesting. And
you have the ability. You penetrate ores. You have that gift, and so there you go.
it, it was kind of the same way about getting you to agree to the conference. And it's a Zoom conference, the one September 3rd. I knew you kind of wanted to do it, and I think it was a dance until you said yes. But I know Einstein, I feel connected to Einstein. I have a connection to you too, Carolyn. That's very, very interesting. And I'm just happy to know you. I heard what you said that you were coming out this way. I did register. Oh yeah, I'll visit you at some point. So
I
I
think
did
it'll
hear that.
happen. I think it'll
Good,
happen.
good, good. You and Einstein, there's always a place for you here. Just so you
Thank you.
know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh yes. Einstein will take up half my house, but no, only
No,
kidding.
you're gonna take up the whole house, really.
Well,
You
his
wear,
energy field.
yeah.
Einstein, first I'm going to thank Einstein for being on the show because I want to acknowledge the consciousness of Einstein and
Thank you.
just the gratitude, Einstein, that you actually allowed Carolyn to be on the show with us. And I feel like there was no, I know that he was consulted, and I feel like that's a
Hmm.
very special thing. And I feel like
Right.
there's been people here who've been healed just by listening to this show and learning from feeling Einstein's energy. So this has been lovely.
Thank you. And I will say that watch the dream time when you connect to Einstein, even like through the computer screen or wherever you're listening. There is a connection, and he will, if you invite him to the dream time, he might just show up.
Okay. I haven't invited anyone to my dreams yet for a while. So, Einstein,
Do
it is going to
it.
be you and I, sweetheart, and our tribe. Carolyn, this has been
Thank you.
wonderful. I know how much is going on in your personal life, and I know it was a big deal for you to be on air with
Yeah.
us and
Thank you.
chat. And I adore you, and you're in my heart. Your stories are so penetrating. And guys, I'll make sure her links, you have them right here. I want you to run to that website. You can actually have a clone of Einstein. To me, that a clone is not the right word,
We
but
call them baby Einsteins. And
baby Einstein.
just for your audience to know, I have more skulls than I have time to list them in the store. So if you don't see what you're looking for, you can always send a note because I have a lot of baby Einsteins. I just got in a shipment, Himalayan quartz baby Einsteins, which are really amazing. And I don't have them all listed yet. I have one listed, I think. So feel free to ask for what you do not see.
Interesting. Well, I've also
Yeah.
seen your crystal skulls on Jimmy Church's platform, where he does his studio. He has a ton
Hmm.
of Carolyn
In his
Ford's
bunker.
skulls
Yes.
and
Yeah.
in his bunker. And I don't know, I think it's wonderful. I'm really appreciative, Carolyn. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you, Einstein. You're just in our hearts now. So,
Thank you.
all
All
right,
right.
we'll see you. So stick
To
around
be
if you want to
continued.
chat, and we'll continue soon. Yes.
Yeah.
All
No,
right.
I'm gonna move on to the next moment here. If
Okay, good.
you're done with me, right?
We are we are we are in the moment. We are satisfied with this healing and this
Oh,
whole interview, this feeling
beautiful.
that I have of completion. And Einstein's assuring me that there'll be a second interview and even more. So
Yeah, he
thank
says
you.
to be continued for
To
sure.
be
All
continued.
right.
All right,
You're a
guys, give
total
her a big
delight.
love. Give her a big love, and we will see her next time. All right, that was just, it's settling me down. Normally I get rah rah and I'm high energy and And Carolyn's kind of fun because she likes to laugh like I do, but I feel like that energy from Einstein really did penetrate my heart and my soul, and I'm happy that you all experienced it with me. So thank you so much, and make sure that you actually all go look up Carolyn. So meanwhile, guys, I'm Joan of Angels. If you haven't met me before, and please check out my YouTube channel, Joan of Angels, and like and subscribe and share When we share, we get the work out to the world. And by the way, make comments if you're on YouTube because that helps those algorithms that gets it out to the world too. And also check out my website, joanofangels.com. Get that book on how to live your soulful purpose and sign up so you can find out about our upcoming soul class. I guess that's a good way to put it, right, Tina? All right. So we're going to see you next time. And I'm just so appreciative. Make sure you comment and give us your feedback online so we can see that. And curious to know how you did love this show. And we will see you all next time. So sweet. See you next time. Have a blessed week. Lots of miracles. And remember, we love you. Bye for now.